Hey, welcome everybody. Everybody can take a seat and we can get started. All right, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. This is a special meeting, but it's not a business meeting, so we're not going to be voting on anything. There's no actions that are going to be taken tonight. It is being recorded and live streamed, so you should be able to see this video on Facebook and on YouTube later on. Quality's not great. This presentation is already uploaded online for you to view later. If you go to our website, ourmadisonville.com, and go to 2023 meeting minutes, there'll be a link at the bottom with today's date that will show you all of the documents for the meeting today. And then we do have two announcements for the community council. Is next Wednesday is a happy hour for the election to meet people running for offices for the community council in the November election. And then that November election is the third Thursday. That will be the 16th. So November Thursday 16th. We'll be in here at 7 o'clock on Thursday the 16th. And we also might have a proposal from a developer seeking a letter of support. But also another reason to come to that meeting, use it out. But all right, I think that's it for me. Yeah, so Brian Williams from the City of Cincinnati.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Williams from the City DOTE. I recognize most of the faces here, so I think you guys are familiar with what we've been doing. I just wanted to just to reiterate that with the same thing I had the last two meetings. This is a plan, and we're staying a little high level. So even when their plan is done, it's going to be high level, and it's meant to come up with kind of a preferred option for Madison Road, or options maybe. And I want to keep that in mind. We're not getting down into the details, but like I said the last few times, the bump outs, crosswalk, that'll come later once we have it figured out. The main purpose of this is to help us set up getting funding to actually build something. So having gone through kind of a planning process and done some community engagement really helps when we go for grants, construction grants. So that's the purpose of this. So we'll have, and if we get those grants, we'll be coming back and finalizing kind of the community engagement, finalizing the plan. So then I'm going to pass it over to Travis from Finder.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I walk through the results of what we've gotten so far on the feedback and concepts that we did earlier. Just going to quickly kind of set through some of what we've done already. Just some background. Most of you are familiar with this project. It's something that's been considered and looked into, thought about for a while. Looking at ways so that we can provide better access to those pedestrians and bicyclists and vehicles and everybody that uses the road. So we've been working on going through this study with you guys. For those who are maybe unfamiliar with the complete streets, again for all users. So I include public transportation, cars, bikes, and pedestrians. So far, this is just kind of a quick rehash of everything that we've done. As part of this project, we've gone through, collected some data, some traffic count data, done observations, measurements of the road width out there. We've done the initial surveys with you guys a few months ago, just kind of asking about what some of the pain points are and issues that you've had with this road out here. Trying to get some initial feedback on what challenges there are. And then from there, we created some concept drawings. If you were at the last meeting, we had the boards up. You could go through and use stickers and kind of assign what you thought were your favorite options, your second favorite option. And then again, there was an online survey that was open to everybody. Got things to go through and put your vote in one way or another. So from the initial survey that we did, just asking what your top concern was for the roadway out there. And unsurprisingly, I think most of us, the overwhelming main issue was speeding. And then a lot of the other issues, vehicle bleeding and out of lanes, no safe place to ride a bike, crosswalks felt unsafe. Then with your second option, there was still some speeding in there. There wasn't first, it was second, but then there was no safe place for cycling. Pedestrians were a much bigger factor. You can see about half of the number two concern related to bicyclists or pedestrians. All right, so we're gonna go through the initial results from our most recent survey that we did. And I know you probably don't remember off the top of your head what all these colors necessarily associate with, but I'm going to give you kind of a high view here of what the results were, and then I'll go through the different colored concepts in a minute. So I guess the main takeaway that you see kind of looking at this is that for the survey result for this is everybody who did the online survey. So this includes more than just people that live and work in Madisonville, but everybody. So you can see that the blue concept got the most number one votes, the blue bar being number one votes. That one is the separated bike path that's elevated up on the sidewalk, so bike path in each direction. So then a lot of the other, you see kind of a mix of the number two item is blended between the pink option, which is the existing cross section of the roadway today, and then yellow and purple. So we'll get into that here a little bit more. So now if we drill down a little bit farther into just the work and live in Madisonville responses, so it's exclude people that just, they may be passing through this, just if you spend significant time here, it always the result. You can see it's a little bit less obvious of what the number one choice was amongst everybody. Blue and purple were the number one options that were improvement options. Blue again was the separated bike paths that are up on the sidewalk on each direction. The purple option is the multi-use path, so that's a shared path for bikes and pedestrians. So that would be set up and away from the roadway.
I'm sorry, can you go back to the other slide?
Yeah, it's a bit of it's a drastic difference. Yeah. Anyway, we'll walk through some of the concepts here next and kind of circle back to this so you get a better idea of where we're all. So this is the purple option. This was voted by the Live and Work in Madisonville group as number one, slightly above the blue option. So you can see in this one, this is the multi-use shared path. That would be just on one side of the road. And then the pedestrian only path would be on the other side of the road. Not that pedestrians could use this side as well, but it would be mixed with bicycles.
Are you going to start fast, slow down one lane each way?
All of the improvement options do show that as one way each way.
I understand Madisonville got control. But you're gonna have another issue there.
How many people use this road in rush hour traffic, and you're gonna put bicycles on there? When it's kind of a little bit rough anyway? It don't sound too safe to me. It sounds like a dangerous thing, and you're gonna have bottleneck traffic all the way back to Oakland, or all the way back to highway, because they can't get through Madison. And that's the truth. You already got one lane coming down here by Medford Way, and you still got the two left lanes going down Madison Road. Now we're going to direct all them lanes into one lane going down Madison Road. That's what I want. That ain't gonna work. So it is not.
Yeah, let's finish the presentation and circle around for questions at the end. Yeah, thank you. We'll just finish the presentation and open the floor for questions.
All right, we'll wait then, we'll come back to you. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, so we'll step through the remainder of the options here. So the blue option was the second option. This one is, instead of having the bicyclists and pedestrians mixed on one side of the road, they're always separated. So you can see, the bicyclists would still be up and away from the traffic, the cars that are out in the middle of the road. But they would also be separated from the pedestrians. So this one, the second amount of votes. The first two here that we've shown, the purple and then this blue one, constitute majority of the changes, the improvement option votes. But again, I'll show you more now how that breaks down. The third most votes that we got for a single option was just the existing cross section that we have in place today. Most of you are probably familiar with what this one looks like. But it's 5 lanes on the sidewalks are kind of what's available. Not much more to say on that one for now. And then after those first 3 that were all about 20 to 25% of the votes, the remaining ones 10%, about 13% or less. So this yellow option doesn't include any bike lane at all. This one is just basically trying to provide, it's still 3 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, but its goal is to maximize parking. So we got 13% of people who voted that one as the #1 choice. The gray option that we presented previously, this one has on-street bike lanes, which is different than the option that has them up and separated away from the traffic. So these, in this option, the bike lanes are closer to the traffic. And you're trying to get in additional parking in this option. So the bike lanes are relatively close to where the travel lanes are. If you're trying to also squeeze in parking for the corridor. And then when you get down to the green option, you can see it's only about 3% of the votes. This one includes bike lanes on the street, but they are they're pushed away. There's just basically pavement parking that separate the 3-lane traffic and the bike lanes. Then the orange option, this one is not including the bike lane at all. Really kind of limiting parking even, but its primary goal is to maximize the sidewalk space, so there's more room to walk. That one only received 1.5% of the votes. So again, we'll circle back to the beginning here in a sense and just look at the votes, how they came in from all the users. So be more familiar with the concept. But the blue option, again, when everybody, including in Madisonville and outside of Madisonville, voted, was about half the votes. And then the pink, yellow, purple option kind of were a close second in this case. Purple, though, did get, you can see a lot of under 2 votes. So there is definitely a little bit more of a preference. You can't have one, we take this one. So it leans a little more towards blue and purple here overall. So then, just considering the Madisonville live and work results, again, you can see that the blue and the purple were the higher percentages here. The #1 votes with existing cross section being the closest third.
Just tell me, wait for the. Can you wait till it's done? You know, we're holding questions till the end.
If it's about something, do we want to get specific to that? Do we want to?
No, something said, he said, and outside, that's the right. That's who got that. Go outside.
That's
No, because on the quick.
Yeah, so
No, thank you.
this slide here does include This is the online survey results as they came back to us. So on the online survey, you have the option to say, you know, what is your relationship to Madisonville? Do you live in Madisonville? Do you work in Madisonville? Do you drive along Madison Road? So anybody essentially who got into the survey selected one or two or three of those items. But this is everybody who did the survey at all. Well, the results,
No, it's not our survey. You gotta remember, this is a city of Cincinnati project.
these results here do reflect just live and work in Madisonville.
These results include, last meeting, what were, the stickers on stickers.
Yes, the worker lived one does include what was on the poster board. So those have been added in to the survey results online. So one of the other questions that if you took the survey online, you remember seeing is the broken out portion of Madison Road, asking kind of what type of cross section, what type of road and infrastructure you would like to have in these different portions of the road. So you can see kind of highlighted on here, like Anderson Place to Ravenna Street, Ravenna Street to Ward to Kenwood, and then Settle Road to Plainville Road. On there, when you were asked to provide what your most preferred infrastructure would be, we seem to see that the blue option was more preferred, with purple still coming in generally in second. But kind of splitting that with the existing cross section. So again, blue was the separated bike path up on the sidewalk, and that when prompted for different areas, it seemed to be the clear winner. So we tried to take the results and maybe break them down in a little less of just, you know, what concept was preferred, but what information could we glean from that. So if you kind of look at it from the perspective of all the votes, and again, this is all just those who voted and live and work in Madisonville. 22% preferred that we keep the existing cross section out there as it is. 78% voted for one of the concepts. Then looking at what people that live and work in Madisonville prefer to have in a new concept of the roadway, they 63% of those pick something that included a bike lane or some sort of bike infrastructure, whether that's a multi-use trail or just separated designated bike lanes. So it includes both. And then 37% selected something that didn't have a bike lane at all. If you kind of break out that last piece, so you break this down into what that would constitute. They either 22% wanted preferred the existing road, 13% preferred to prioritize parking, and then 2% wanted to maximize the sidewalks. I saw this. So this section, this graph here is based on the people who actually voted for some sort of bike infrastructure, whether or not they wanted a separated bike path, so one that isn't on the roadway, is really the right way to put that. And 21% voted for something that would have been on the roadway. And this number, it says 68 because that's the total Madisonville residents that we had vote, but only 43 people were actually voted for bike infrastructure, so that number is a little bit lower.
I didn't hear the 43.
Say what?
You said 43, 41.
Oh, sorry. So 43 people voted for some sort of improvement that included bike infrastructure. Out of the 68 people who live in Madisonville,
These are Madisonville people. They're Madisonville residents that this is the 48 out of the 60. Right, it's us.
yeah, this is all you guys.
Not outside.
This does not include the outside people, right?
No, no problems.
So to just kind of summarize a little bit, from what we got out of the survey results. We found that generally the purple and the blue option were the most preferred together, at this point. So we will say, kind of as Brian mentioned, but this is still somewhat a high level of study, and this helps us understand what the interest is in the community, but it doesn't necessarily decide immediately that we're doing this particular option. So what we've learned is that one of these two is the more preferred option compared to the other concepts that we came up with. But again, yeah, it's, nothing has been actually decided, and it's moving forward. It's, I know, be more, I guess, processes in the future to help work with that. So again, what happens next? So the finders group will be working to finalize all of our findings from our study, and putting that all together. And then Brian will be on the end of kind of working through the funding sources, looking for ways that we can actually go about advancing this project. It's the next step out of the concept phase that we're in now.
Is, I don't know, Brian, did you have anything else?
I just kind of wanted to reiterate what I said, and what you showed there. Based off the feedback, there's kind of two options. One thing I wanted to mention, he had the slide up there that broke it out into 4 sections. I said this last time too, when we get into this, we don't have to pick one for the whole corridor. We can, kind of change it up as we go, because it might make sense to have parking in one section where it's not needed in another, or, the road's a little wider at one end than it is the other, so we can, when we get into that, so the next, they're gonna write the report, and they're gonna be done. And nothing's gonna happen out here until we find some way to get something constructed. Once we do that, the most likely source, and if it's gonna happen soon, the most likely source is some kind of federal grant. And that requires us to do public engagement once we get that grant. So if we get one of those, we'll definitely be back here going through, kind of picking up where we left off here and getting into the weeds, and we'll have more detailed data of what's out there and how it fits. Because all the work they did was based off Cadres, there's no survey. So it might, we might get the survey and find out we have a couple more feet, or we have a couple less feet, and stuff might have to switch a little bit. So that's kind of the plan. Again, the only way this is going to actually get constructed is if we find a grant, or if it's scheduled to be rehabbed, and it's probably not scheduled to be rehabbed until 2032, I think is the next. It was just done a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So it'll go on our list of projects, and we'll be searching for grants to get this done.
So just to make it even more clear, like a project like this, how much, what's like a massive ballpark range for how much it would cost? About a mile.
Well, it depends what option. If we're going an option where we're touching the curb on both sides and all new sidewalk, we're probably around 6 or 7 million. That's without the rehab. The rehab's probably close to 10 million, maybe. If we're going all new sidewalk and curb. If we pick an option where the curb doesn't move or one curb doesn't move, then it gets cheaper. So, and that's a complete guess off the top of my head, because I haven't looked at this that close. But that'll be as we move forward, that'll fall on my group to look at that. We'll put a ballpark estimate together. That'll be the first thing we do. So when we're looking for these grants, we know how much money to ask for. So I would guess between 8 to 10 million probably for kind of the.
All right, so what we'll do is, okay, so who has a question or comment, raise your hand, I just want to get a general survey of the crowd. Okay, so I think what I'll do is, like, I'll go by rows, right? Kind of circle around and make sure everybody gets an opportunity. So you're from my left to right, I think Angie was the first one with her hand up.
Okay, that was a property tax.
I don't,
Kind of like my part.
we don't have anything to do with property tax, the county, so I can't answer that question.
And who came to you about this community wanting bike trails? That's the other question. And up on Madison Road, are y'all planning on putting bike trails up on Madison Road and Stewart? It's had traffic, okay, what we need a bicycle trail? When you come from 71, you get up on Madison Road and go up by Stewart, you can hardly even get over. But you got the turning lane and two straight lanes. And you try to get over that in the same lane, by the turn lane, it's so narrow. So why would you put a bike trail in there?
Well, nobody came to us asking for bikes, we're looking at Madison Road, we had complaints of speeding and all the other issues we've had. Well, that's, and, so this has been on my radar, Kate and I talked years ago, what could we potentially do to control the speeding and slow down cars and make it more livable street. So that's why we started this process. So there were options that didn't have bikes on there. We didn't come in pushing bikes. We came in we got the feedback from the community based off that. These guys came up with options. That's these 3 meetings we've had. That's kind of how it's progressed.
Yeah, if you, I mean, pretty much every local news organization probably has something on it, but the city now has a complete street policy. So all of these options are like when they do a project, they're going to at least consider it.
And it's more than just.
Um,
We got speed. So many people moving in that speed. Are you looking at that too? It's bumper to bumper. It ain't just.
Well, we looked at the volumes from at the last meeting. I don't have that data in front of me. But the volumes really haven't changed. They're actually a little lower than they were 15 to 20 years ago. I don't remember the exact number. I remember talking about it last time. And this kind of goes to answer the first question back there as well. Also, last time I looked at cut through traffic on Madison Road. So traffic that's coming from Indian Hill, Madeira, and just cutting through. And the all day traffic, it's like 37%. And this is westbound. I have to pull it up here. So let me pull it up so I don't say it wrong. Westbound direction, it was 37% was cut through, and the AM peak, it was over 50%. It was like 52% of vehicles are cutting through. The eastbound direction, it was 23% for all day, and then the PM peak, it was 31%. So there is a large volume of traffic on Madison Road, but a large volume of that traffic is people that don't have anything to do on Madison Road. They're not living here, they're not working here, they're not stopping at businesses. And that's one of the dilemmas, right? Do we design for that traffic or do we not and let them cut, because they have other options. And what those people, they're cutting through Madisonville because it's the easiest way for them, but they have other options.
You live in Madison?
hold on, we gotta get around it. But also maybe a more specific question about the taxes issue, like that's what he's talking about, the grant. They will use a grant to pay for 80% of the project. A good example is Red Bank Expressway. I don't know if you remember that got resurfaced last year. That was $2.4 million. And 80% of that money came from the state of Ohio. The city only paid 20% of that out of the existing budget. So they take the existing budget to apply for those grants, which will require them to pay 20%. That's why it will take a while to get to the project. but that helps save the city a lot of money, because they've been getting really aggressive about reaching out for those grants to pay for these types of projects. Okay. Move on. Anybody in this row?
So I guess I just, first of all, I want to say thank you because I think all those options will make the street safer. I don't want to say throw out all the people that don't live in Madisonville, all those results. But it was kind of ridiculous that, you know, basically everybody that does not live or work in Madisonville that took the time to vote, so they want the primo pipeline. So obviously, you know, I think the votes from the people in Madisonville said that agreed that yes, you know, we could use pipeline, but it's not hot priority. People that took the time to go ahead and vote, even when they don't live in the valley, like pipeline, see all the money. So I wish we could just throw that out, or at least make sure that we prioritize the votes from. And I said this before, but maybe it's slightly different way. We're going to come back to this group, and when we do, it'll be for construction, and it'll be more. It'll be working with basically this group. We'll come to this meeting. Our feedback will be more directed and less general.
Anything else in the area? Yeah, hi, first meeting, so this may have been covered in previous meetings. What is the corridor? Is it from like Plainville down to Red Bank, or how far does it extend?
Yeah, sorry. The study, and I explain this, and I'll tell you my rationale. Their study is from Anderson Place to Plainville. Is what they're looking at. I broke it up that way when I put it out, mainly because there's a lot going on at Medpace.
Sure.
So I'm saying Medpace has to cover Anderson to Red Bank, and we'll cover
Right.
Anderson to Plainville.
Okay. And with the elevated, if there is like an elevator off the bike path, how would that affect the businesses that go walking out and bike getting fast?
I mean, Travis, you have one of the concepts for the. Yeah, the shared path is a little bit more difficult, especially in the business district where the doors are right there. So like I said earlier, like we don't have to do the same thing through the whole corridor. So if we end up with a side path, maybe when it gets to the business district where those buildings are right at the back of walk, maybe we switch and do something else. We don't want lights, doors, people are coming right out of the door. So we're staying high level with this. Once we finally decide on a concept and get the funding, we'll dive down into those kind of details.
So yeah, we go to the larger picture. Yeah. So like the other context that I don't think we mentioned. Yeah. So this down here is Camargo and Plainville. This here is Anderson Place. And so this process with the city started last year when it was over many cycles. The community council has been asking the city to address the crosswalk at Anderson Place. You know, at a left turn light at Wetzel. You know, these two senior living facilities are low income, so a lot of them cross the street, take a bus. So we passed a resolution last summer asking them to start this process. That's how we got here. I got to mention that at the beginning. All right, so this the third row, and
Hi guys, thanks for coming back. It would have been nice to have the drawings on easy. It's hard to see that. Anyway, 9 years is a long time. Y'all feel in decades, you know. I am very concerned about Anderson Place crossing or entering into Madison Road. for two reasons. One, the school kids from John P. Parker, and two, the old people like me from St. Paul Village that cross the street to pick up a bus. There's already been a death at that intersection. And I see children crossing there all the time from Parker. And there's no crossing guard. And cars don't stop. The flashing light, the yellow sign is very dull. I mean, it wouldn't wake anybody up. It's so dull. That needs to be fixed before 9 years from now. In Oakley, every other foot is a stop if there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk. I strongly urge that the city put that up so that we don't have another death. Because 9 years, there's likely to be another death. But we ain't getting any younger. I asked you earlier about the number of people that supported bike lanes on Madison Road before the second survey. I vaguely recall a number of 14 or 15 from the first part. So obviously the numbers have gone up, but I just wanted to point out that the initial survey, the number of people that wanted bike paths was very, very low compared to the whole number. What I have heard back from the community and from bicyclists, that it would make a lot more sense for us to connect to the Crown. That going down Wetzel, I know this doesn't have anything to do with y'all, but that going down Wetzel, from Wetzel in Madison, down to Bramble, across to Waterston, and down to the Murray Trail, more bikers would use that than to use the less than a mile up and down Madison Road to go nowhere. Because they're not going to cross Red Bank. They may go down Plainville, but they can get Plainville from Wetzel. So the pushback, I like the one bike lane, but the pushback I heard from the community was, which is there's not enough room for bicyclists and a wide sidewalk. So why not put a bicycle lane where it would be used and could be connected to the Crown, because the Crown has the finger. Next, the city has a request for traffic calming on Stewart, south of Madison. At one point, there was a proposal that be made one way. Without exception, all of the residents say no, don't make it one way. So I went and told people, which was 100% that signed a petition for traffic calming. They do not want it one way. And I talked to MedPace, and MedPace was not even aware of the proposal to make it one way. And several people I talked with at MedPace were vehemently against making it one way because they're going to build a 5-7-story parking garage right next to Stewart in their back parking lot. So making that one way is not going to be feasible. So I would also, last thing is just to encourage you all to reach out to MedPace, because they're, as you know, are growing very quickly.
Couple things, if I remember everything. The Stewart one way, I don't think that was ever a proposal. I think we were, at the last meeting, we were looking at ways to address the Stewart intersection. We were just throwing out ideas. I don't think that was ever a real proposal. That was just one of the things we threw out. If we pursue this, it is likely to be years. If we get a grant, if we get a federal grant, we're more than likely for. I mean, if I got the federal grant tomorrow, usually the money's not available for 4 years. So if we get a federal grant, we're talking 4 to 5 years. Other grants are some are less, but they don't provide as much funding. So we are. No matter what, we're a few years out before we get full construction. So, and one of the options may be to break this down into phases to help us get constructed. What would be the priority phase? I have no idea. But short term, there are, I agree, there are things out here that probably need addressed. We have our existing programs. We have our pet safety program. They reach out to the community council for employees. and then they score them, so I can't guarantee because we're looking at all 52 neighborhoods and storing them, and unfortunately, we don't have enough money to do everything, so. But that's one way to get some stuff done, if there's, you know, if the signs are old and faded, we need to replace those, that's something that you just make the request. 311 Cincy is the best place for that, and we'll, you know, that'll be done.
We work with John Childress
Yeah.
at Schroeder, to get some traffic improvement there. You talk to him?
Yeah, if you go to 311, it'll go to John, so.
And you know, one thing, man like me, you ride a bicycle, and what they need to do, I know you was talking about Camargo Road. I know I take that section road when I'm coming towards, I go to a Kroger's, to grocery shopping, and go do it your best hardware to pick up line bags. On that section road, they have signs up that warn drivers, said share the road with bicyclists. That's what they really need to have on Madison Road to warn drivers, share the road. And there are couple of other places I went. I got things to prove to y'all, evidence, because there's one side of town near Warner Hills. There's a sign called, what it's called, bicyclists at 3 feet. And it also said by bicycle laws and by Ohio law, bicycles have the right of way. And I think they just need to put those signs up, warn drivers, share the road, make it big. Next time when we meet again, I'll show you what I'm talking about, because that sign on Camargo, it's real big and visible. And pretty much when I'm riding on that section road, drivers, they slow down and they give you the space and everything. And one thing, the sheriff, Hamilton County Sheriff, they be patrolling, sitting on Madison Road quite more often than the Cincinnati police writing tickets. And occasionally I might see a Cincinnati police officer on Madison Road every now and then, trying to bust speeders, write tickets to get drivers to slow it down. But these Cincinnati police need to quit being lazy, quit wasting our money. Paying y'all to do your job, get out there and bust some speeders. This is not Road Runner and Wile E. Coyote.
Let them know. All right, go this road here. Go to the back at the end.
Okay, so I want to go back to what Andy was suggesting. Anderson Place and ask if it's possible to get the speed bumps that we put in on Reading Road over by Woodward, at least there at that intersection, right before, right after the city council.
So that's, those are being installed with our pet safety program that I was talking about. So if that's they'll reach out to the community council, so if the community council makes that a priority, they'll look at it and score it with the other locations they get. Unfortunately, we're limited in our funding, so they have a process and a scoring matrix that they look at to determine, rank all the requests they get, and we try to fund as many as we can.
Yeah. The community council, we actually did, in the last round, ask for traffic calming on Madison Road, and we didn't make the cut. So, the Madison Road section that we put on there was like, one or two down, from the funding. So.
No, but they're not cheap. The seat cushions, the rubber ones, which we're probably not going, because they're not holding up as well as we hope. But those are just one cushion in one lane is about $12,000 with labor, parts and labor. The concrete ones are closer to 15 to 20,000 per lane. So
It'll be,
but our program budget to put that in isn't, we got 52 neighborhoods and it's $6 million.
that program is a competitive program. So it's all the community councils send 2 requests in, and it's ranked off of injuries, crashes, and so we're competing against neighborhoods that have like a Reading Road where people die once a year. And so that's why, and that doesn't have enough funding in the program. I mean, that is a way of putting it. That. Those grants are also competitive as well. And so the city uses those on like a Reading Road, something.
Yes, first of all, I agree with Tim. I think we need to have some kind of traffic calming through the school zone. I like the idea of raising the sidewalk, doing whatever we can, the people, the kids that attend Parker School, they're concerned, and I totally agree. Now, doing a bike trail, lane, or whatever. We're gonna dump these bicycles down on Red Bank Expressway. Terry said it. Where are they gonna go from the Red Bank Expressway? It's a major road. They just don't disappear. I mean, you gotta get across Red Bank Expressway. So that's where I go there. Yeah, and then, first of all, I'm very active in the bicycling community and the bike community. I donated to Murray Trail. I'm a very active volunteer there. But why don't we think about using Rose Street or Bramble or something else other than Madison Road? And then I mean, there's other options here. Second thing, I see we're using our energy on this person here on a bike trail. The whole process when we used this TIF money was to the whole quarter through there, the whole quarter through. Hello? Okay. The whole quarter through there. Well, we talked about the railroad trust so we keep getting hit. We don't talk about anything turn lane on Madison Road. We keep talking about this bike trail. Look, I mean, why don't we talk about other? We're focused on this issue here. Are you talking? Is any proposal about what we're going to do maybe to lessen the accidents there at the railroad trestle? You know, are we fixed on the thing down there at Madison and Madison and Camargo? Are we fixed on that? Is that going to be permanent? Is that a? I mean, there's so many. I mean, the turn lane on Madison. There's no turn lane. You take life in your own hands. You come down. I lived there 66 years, and I know the area. But certain hours, you make a left turn or right turn off of Madison, you're taking life in your own hands. Do we need a turn lane? That's not going to cost $5 million to put redo the lights here at Madison and Westall. But this, why is everything focused on this area here and not the whole corridors?
The study is the whole corridor, so I'm not. When you say this area here, I'm not sure what your comment means.
So that was what we voted on last year for this. That was what we asked for, was a analysis for this whole section. So it was not. So
You got right up there. I mean,
let me answer the, please let me answer.
So yeah, these guys are looking at the whole corridor, but the corridor has kind of distinct sections to it. So we've broken out in the four. That's what I was saying earlier. When we're looking at these options, there's kind of the option or section 2 is the Ravenna Ward. That's kind of your main business district. That's different from the rest of the corridor where everything's set back. So you might do something different in that section because it's a business district. So we're looking at the whole corridor, but these options could be different in each one of those sections. And again, we're staying high level. So you asked about the Camargo and the paddles we have down there. And are we going to do anything? Whatever project we have, we'll address that. But that's kind of again, the detail of the bump outs and stuff that we're not going into with this level. The bridge is its own animal, no matter what we pick. It doesn't matter, the bridge is an issue. So, you know, that's something that we have a solution. I got a funding grant about 10 years ago to fix that, and unfortunately it was given back. You know, but that's a lot of work with the railroad and other issues that are, no matter what we decide to do, is going to handle.
And the city does have funding from the state or receiving money from the state to put a path off the street, off of Red Bank Expressway. So, and as well as a traffic light between Medpace and the red on Red Bank Expressway. So that would be the path that somebody could take, would be coming down here, turning it into Medpace's campus, and then taking that light across Red Bank Expressway to that path, which will eventually go all the way down to Alt Park and all the way up to the cemetery and Duck Creek Road and high school. Okay.
I mean, I live on Madison Road, and I work on it. So I don't go very far on Madison Road, make down Brandon, down Brandon. But I don't see that many bikes riding that Madison Road, actually, use the bikes. I mean, I've been here all my life, I have no bikes riding that, I'm selling bikes. It's just a fan. Yeah, arguing with people doing traffic, anything, anyway, but I don't even see this, this don't make no sense to me at all. And I mean, I was right there, 6701 Madison. And I worked at 691. And I walked down Madison, and I walked down the I don't see the public going to buy a license to the right here. I mean, this is ridiculous. One of those, you know, I'll put a camera up, I'll find a camera, I'll put it up on the street. And I'm gonna see how many bicycles my parents not and all the two years in the figure. I guarantee if there's more than 2 or 3 hours, and I know there ain't even that. That's a bad rate. So I don't know where this bike trail is from that. There's all kinds of stuff. And then you go around there, they're gonna put a bike trail in, what, 10 o'clock? That makes no sense to me at all.
Couple things with that. Again, the bikes came up from the feedback we got here, so we didn't put that in. That was based off the feedback we got here. So we came up with options for that. And you're right, there probably are no bikes on Madison. I wouldn't ride my bike on Madison Road right now, but if there was a nice protected bike facility, that might change, right? Well, as Terry said, we've got, you know, you got to build it to pieces, as we have been all over the city. We're building a trail on part of the trail of the Eastern Corridor, the bike trail that was planned. We're building that on Red Bank. We got some money from the state that had to be spent along Red Bank, and so we're able to build a trail with that because we couldn't do any of the other projects.
Anybody in this row?
Okay, I have a comment and a question. Comment is made that, if we got federal grants, you would come back and address the community. I would hope that with any grant, that you would come back and address the community. That's just my comment.
No, we'll come back and address the community with any grant. I was just saying with the federal grant, it's required, like we have to, but we will with any grant.
Okay.
What specific?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, my second one is, how does this tie in with the community plan? So, in my opinion, you wouldn't really do anything to begin with plan unless we're there.
So maybe what you're trying to like refer to in a roundabout way is that, so the community council is on the list for neighborhood plans. So, that could potentially be next year. And so that is like, that would be like a year-long process. It would be like a 100-page report at the end of the day. And so that could be a major pillar of that could be just transportation in general, if that's what you're referring to. And so that process would certainly be complete. But before any construction happens on Madison Road can allow for those larger conversations about transportation in the neighborhood.
Anyway,
I'll go back here.
I'm Lucy, and I've lived here for 37 years. And I just I don't think, see, anyhow, this, people talking about the bike thing, I don't see like 12,000 people being on bikes, but I wouldn't ride on Madison Road, it's not, it's dangerous. But, so anyhow, I guess my info would be like, I don't know, get the word bike out of the way, so that we aren't spending 45 minutes talking about bikes. Because we can ride a bike, a person walk, kid can ride a bike on the sidewalk, so I don't know. People have like an attitude about bike riders or what, but it's not gonna be a bike lane, it's just gonna be for bikes to be able to ride, and if you don't want a bike lane, it's just one of the choices, it's a new bike lane. I don't think it's pushing anything on anyone, so I guess I'm confused as to why people are so worked up about this, because nothing's happened. Maybe 10 years, anything happened, so I guess I would just like us to be able to maybe talk about this in a more positive way. I think the side streets for bikes, or the ones on bikes, whatever, they're off the main roads. But Madison, if the traffic's heavy and, you know, you figure out a way to slow it down. I don't know, Oakley's not doing anything about it. Nobody else is doing anything about it. I don't even know if we can do anything about it. I mean, it might be a pipe dream to slow down the traffic on Madison Road. I don't know. Where could it happen? Where has somebody done it and been successful in one of the neighborhoods? But I mean, I'm serious. I'm not going to.
No, I agree. The last time I talked about it was probably the closest one we've done that's comparable to Madison Road here in Madisonville is Glenway Avenue. They last summer restriped it from 4 to 3 lanes. They did 3 lanes of parking on one side. That actually has a slightly less peak hour, slightly smaller peak hour than Madison Road, but for the most part, it's been a success. The speeds have slowed down, the crashes are way down. I don't remember the exact speed difference off the top of my head. I haven't been directly involved in that project, but it has slowed down the overall speeds. So that's the most comparable. We've done other streets. Delta Avenue, probably about 10 years ago, it's making me feel old because I did that. However long ago we did that, we went from 4 down to 3 with bike lanes and park. That one was still wide enough to put everything in there and make it work. The speed went down that about 5 miles an hour from our after study we did. I don't know if they remained there. That was about a year after we did an after study, and they went down about 5 miles an hour. So we typically going from 4 to 3 lanes is going to slow down. It only takes one person driving the speed limit, and everybody's stuck behind them.
One more thing, this is the whole, you know, when I read about traffic and they said if you change it, they'll find a way, they'll find another way to get home, which is what you talk about. So that whole mindset needs to be looked at too, like talking about that to maybe people who don't understand that they will find another way to go, right?
Right. If you know, you go down the one lane in each direction, and it takes them 20 minutes to get through, instead of 3 or 4 now, then we'll probably start trying to find another one.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Smith, and I'm a 15-year resident from Madisonville. This is the first thing I've been to, but I just want to get some clarity that this study was brought on by Madisonville. Is that correct, Terry? Okay. So all this data that you garnered is coming from the community. Is that correct? Like the bike
The
lanes and
feedback,
things like that?
Yeah, so the first meeting, the city hired finders, to perform the study. So they went and collected a bunch of traffic data, the counts, speeds. I can't remember what all we had to do that. Yeah, but looked at crashes, so the first meeting, they presented all that data, and we simply asked, what issues are on Madison Road, and what would you like to see on that? So, based off that feedback, we presented these options you see here today at the last meeting, and then this is the feedback we got after presenting those options.
Okay, great, that helps me. And I think the idea is to calm traffic is a big issue, right?
That, based off the feedback we got, speeding and.
Speed. This looks similar, and I know it's not in your jurisdiction being city of Cincinnati, but Fairfax has a similar road design, if I'm correct. Kind of one lane each direction, a median that is allowed turning another block off the side, which kind of may not be a good idea in Madisonville. It seems very similar. And I'm sure that the amount of traffic that goes through Fairfax might actually be larger than the traffic that goes through Madison Road to me, because that's a big thoroughfare. I don't know. That's very similar.
I think I can look. I can show you. You can look it up, but it's in the same ballpark. The east of West goal is definitely lower.
Okay. So people like the idea of cut through. I know this has had a big brouhaha about closing Settle. Settle was a cut through street. Now it's not for the most part. A cut through street is bad for the neighborhood. So when the BMWs and the Audis and the Teslas are coming down from Indian Hill, yeah, we need to slow them down. We need to let them understand that coming through Madisonville isn't a proper way to go. So I agree with the calming. It looks to me that in some of these profiles, we're going to lose parking on the street. Is it just traffic either way? Is that what I'm seeing on some of those sections that you had up?
Yes, I think, I don't remember, like,
Right.
blue had no parking. I think
Yeah.
Purple had one side.
One side parking, I saw that, okay. I'm a little concerned by that because parking has been a big issue with the residents of Madisonville, particularly in the business district. And I know I'm a landscape architect of urban planning as a part of my study, that having parking on the street actually helps calm traffic. Am I correct on that? Did I study well at UCLA to understand that? Thank you.
Well,
That-
people use it.
That degree work. I'm a bike rider too, so just full disclosure, I bike all the time. I'm about to get an e-bike, can't wait to get that. I am a little concerned why we've been planning to have a bike lane going down Madison Road. It seems a little, we're trying to shoehorn something into that road. When I bike through Madisonville, I usually go down Wetzel, Catch Row, I go down Bramble, I do that. And I think the Chevron for sharing lanes might be a good idea for those roads. We need to just be wary of what's going on in Madison. Calming the traffic is most important. Having a bike lane on Madison Road seems, again, I've repeated myself, a little bit of a shoehorn there. But that's really all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to ask, you mentioned 52 neighborhoods are all kind of competing on this. Are all 52 neighborhoods looking to make some kind of road, or can you follow out how many neighborhoods right now in the city are doing this process that we're doing right now, so we can get an understanding of what is the competition that we're dealing with right now? Are we dealing with all 52 neighborhoods, or how many neighborhoods are actually in this process?
So to clarify, when I mentioned 52 neighborhoods competing, that was for we have existing programs, money we get every year. So we have like pet safety, we have our street rehab program. I have a safety program, and I get $1 million for safety every year. The pet safety program has had close to 6 to 7 million, but that's coming down. So those programs are what all the neighborhoods are competing for. The study, so the second part's a little hard to answer. Right now, you're the only neighborhood going through this study, but I just did this in Lynn Street a few years ago. We were able to secure a grant for construction, so we were, and actually that one was same process. We had 3 meetings. We actually did not narrow it down to one option. We applied for the grant, and then after we got the grant, we worked with the neighborhood, we got the one option, and we're moving forward with design and eventually construction. So right now, you're the only one that's going through a study that I'm aware of a corridor. And we'll utilize this, having this puts you a little higher priority for us. The trick here, and unfortunately, it goes back to one of the comments earlier that was directed at something else. We have different grants. We have, there's state grants, there are safety grants. Fortunately, I don't know if the crashes are enough out here for us to qualify for that. But there are other grants that this would be good for, but we do have a list of projects. We pick them based on most, they're somewhat prioritized for us, but it's each grant, we look at which one we think will get funded. We want to be successful. So I'm not going to apply for this if it's a grant that this is going to score real low and not have a chance. I'll pick something else that fits that better. So
Maybe, Dave, real quick, like, so there's 47 community councils in Cincinnati. And that annual pedestrian traffic calming program last year, I want to say 36 had at least one submission. That kind of gives you an idea of how popular this is of a topic across the city.
Well, you also mentioned Glenway Road. And if my memory serves me correct, it was done after there was a big show on local news about the amount of speed taking place on Glenway Road, even making bringing it to the attention that even the local off-duty policemen was not following the speed recommendations. And so all of a sudden, they got themselves on TV from that point of view, because there was so many, and then plus Western Hills High School, the number of kids getting hit over in that neighborhood. So that brought a lot of attention because it was in the media. And as my companion here brought up, it seems like some of the criteria that's being used for what cities get the attention is whether or not there's a fatality or people being injured or somebody getting attention on TV in order for the priority, the criteria that's being used to what community is the first leg up on everybody else.
well, just in general, yes, if there are fatalities and there are injury accidents, those are going to be the priority for any funding we go for. Unfortunately, potentially, yes. But I understand, and that's where I'm going. Unfortunately, the way these grant fundings work, I can't, if I don't have the data, it's not going to score high. You know, if we apply to the state for their safety grants, we're proceeding statewide without any projects to respond. So it's strictly. I like to think I'm very good at writing grants, so you know.
So, all right, so we circle back. If everybody had a chance to say something, that wanted to say something, we'll circle back for a second comment. Oh, no.
Hey there, my name is Kathy Cunningham. I'll let you all know right up front, I'm one of the people who ride bikes. And so I just want to first off extend a invitation to anyone who wants to talk about any topics related to biking that are not like specifically about this project. I'd really enjoy having a friendly conversation with you because I know not everybody has the opportunity to ride a bike and experience what it's like to be on the road. Some simple questions or simple answers to the questions that were asked. You don't see bikers on Madison Road because it's too dangerous. So that's a chicken or egg problem, and it's not because we don't want to ride on Madison Road. It's just too dangerous. Second is, I mean, again, there's a connectivity problem that you know, you get to into Madison Road and there's Red Lake Expressway. Right now, if to get through, basically, most of us cut through Medpace Way, go on Duck Creek Road, and ride up Old Red Lake. And that's one of the few roads where you can safely get up the hill. So it is used getting to the end of Madison Road would actually be a really big help. Right now, when I'm coming through this area, or I'm visiting this area, Walking down here, doing right things. I use my bike a lot for transportation, so it's not just to get in, play on my bike. It's a mode of transportation. I do a convoluted round and round about the Med-Pace campus and back on quiet streets and cut through, little sidewalk cut throughs and stuff. So it's pretty convoluted, but I've spent a lot of time figuring out how to do that safely. Most people, it's a huge barrier to most people because they cannot find a way through. So I think that concept of making it more visible, more accessible to families, people who live along this road, and businesses, people who want to come visit, that's part of the win there. I think the other thing is just that it's very clear in the surveys of Madisonville residents, not the people from outside of Madisonville, that the vast majority want the speeds to be slower on the street. I think there's wide agreement that that's really a problem. The street is too dangerous and too fast. So then when you look and say, well, what are the tools in our toolbox for bringing the speeds down? There's a certain number of choices, right? Speed cushions. I love speed cushions. I think they're great. As a cyclist, I love them. More traffic lights, those can help, although the timing and the signals have to be done right, so people aren't waiting too long, they're racing from light to light. Police enforcement can work, but it's study after study has shown that short term. Once the police stop having a high presence on a roadway, speeds climb back up. Also, police enforcement is very expensive, financially very expensive. Can you imagine having police on any, Madison Road 24/7? If we can have a design solution, build the roadway, slow traffic down, that works 24/7 without all the risks involved in face-to-face encounters between drivers and police officers, without all the extra costs of paying for salaries. So then when you start looking for design solutions, then speed cushions are a great design solution. But the other thing is to calm traffic by providing visual signals so people feel that the speed I should be going is about 25 miles per hour because it feels right for that speed. So just from the bike perspective, I just want to make really clear, like bikers don't want to take anything away from drivers. They're not trying to take away your driving. It's to provide more choices to people who maybe have children who are walking to school, or they have a teenager who wants to get some work experience. But in order to get to their job right now, where infrastructure works, they also have to take on the burden of buying a car. It's depending where you look in Hamilton County, 20 to 30% of people in Hamilton County don't own cars. And taking the bus is really slow. And what if you need to get to your job, it's just 5 miles down the road, too long to walk. But if you could bike there safely, that would be a huge advantage. So I just want to leave that thought with you in spirit. We're not trying to take away choices, we're trying to add choices. And then among the options available to actually solve a high-speed danger problem along the street, there's only so many ways to do that. And so if we're going to narrow the road and make, increase the design signals to drivers to slow down, if we can get in more sidewalk space, maybe a bike lane, that's a win for everybody, including for businesses. Local studies show that when you add a bike lane, you improve access to pedestrians and multimodal transport like buses, businesses really thrive. All right, thank you.
Okay, so one last check, everybody, based on that, had something they want to say, okay? So we can circle back. I saw Angie first.
Okay, to be solicitors about high traffic speed on the main street. I've lived here all my life, more than 15 years. And my car has been hit twice within 4 years on Chapman Street. Okay, so they really speed more on the side street than the main street. Like I hit twice, I can see. So what are you going to do about the main, the side street? Well, we have to put it back to the our car is more danger. Well, I'm not going to put it out on the shadow on the North Street. All the Madison together, this is main street. It's they have more accessible
speed. Traffic is at that high on that side. So we just speed 100 miles an hour. Oh, that's the world, they can't speak that way, and they're probably doing it pretty happy. Well, that's the world. And as far as bikes, I had none of these, but I had one on that day of school. You can't compare with the meeting. It's okay, one. But I just feel like they should not be hindering the time. We should have. That's all I would say.
He's not involved with the residential traffic calming program. And there's a new person who's taking it over. So that's how so we stay focused on Madison Road. That's the system that we work on. I don't know.
I'm in the wrong place.
So, how many of the surveys, given the number of Madisonville live and work versus, not living?
There was about, see, it was about 50. I think there was about 50 people who answered the online survey that said they live or work in Madisonville out of the 120 people who responded. But then we also had the meeting last time that they provided for the first responders. So those got added in results surveys.
So the online survey, 70 people did not live or work in Madisonville?
Correct.
That's a lot.
Well, we provided both that information and information about living work.
He has those on the total respondents was 120, and there were 68 of those that worked at one time.
I hear that. I was listening to that comment, and I know they said something about being able to. What, I guess he turned me, oh, I got it. I was hearing what you were saying about being the bumps and all that kind of stuff, but why can't that be done up near the school? I mean, I'm talking about Anderson Place. I come down there in the mornings, there's the sign that says 20 miles an hour school, and that never happens. Never happens. And right there is where the elderly people are too. But, and I've seen somebody hit down there years ago, not mine, before that. I saw a kid get hit. I was sitting there. And they never have addressed it. So if we're talking about calming, what would a bike trail do calming that? I don't think it could do anything.
Well, are you talking on Madison Road at Anderson or?
Madison, where you go to, because of Anderson, where the kids cross the street and where they're supposed to slow down. So I'm asking, we're talking about bike trails, what would that do? How could that even accommodate that? Why wouldn't they put a bump or something there to slow people where, where the kids are?
So to kind of go back to what I said at the beginning and the first meetings, we're staying high level with this. It's to pick out, to kind of choose what we want the cross section to look like, the number of lanes and what else. The details of, I could totally see Anderson crosswalk right there being a raised crosswalk. But those are details we'll get into once we begin the next phase of construction and picking one of these and moving forward. We'll get into those details. So there's a lot of street calming techniques and other things we can do with whatever we choose that will be implemented with the project ultimately.
Okay, so you said the next time you come.
No, not the next time we come.
No, I mean, you said when you come back after this has gone through, you can break it up into different things all along Madison Road. Is that what I heard?
So
It's a possibility of doing different things in different areas.
I hope we all can agree that Madison Road through Madisonville is kind of has distinct sections where it's a little bit different. So Anderson Place to Ravenna is probably the highest volume by far. Ravenna to Ward is kind of the business district. And then the Ward to Kenwood, slightly less traffic than the other two to the east, and the cross section is a little different in there. And then settled to Plainville is different, so we don't have to do the same thing through that whole thing, or it might not, whatever we want might not fit through that whole thing, so we might have to change them as we go section to section.
And have it ward ward our way up to Kenwood. No, that's just as bad as the other one. And their businesses up there as well.
Well, so maybe, you know, like, this is your question a different way. The point of these different options, right? So like, this is a safety study. That's the goal, is to make it a safer street for everyone, whether you're in a car or not in a car. And so if the data and the engineers can do the maths where less space is needed for cars, what do you think the extra space should be used for? So that's why there's so many bike options, because those are various bike options that they'd be willing to install. But ultimately, the question is, if it doesn't necessarily need to be as wide as it is for all that space for cars, like, what is your preferences to use for the extra space?
It will be, so it will be safer. So it will be safe, that is the goal problem.
You know, there's some federal funding available for safe schools, to walk to safe schools, and we can utilize that funding. I think the concern I have is what Kate said, and other people said, these kids walking to the park school. They I mean, Marymount got money from, the state when they did the Murray Path, so the kids can get on the safe schools funding. You know, funding I'm talking about, it's federal funding. And that's where we need to go because I think the concern I have is common, the speed, that the kids, you know, the school's been, even back when it was mine in high school, when I was a young kid, we need to find a way, and the funding's there. I mean, they almost give money out to people. It's called safe schools, travel, there's plenty, that's where the avenue we need to go here. To get that, you know, like Kim said about raising the sidewalk up, doing some buffering with speed. You know, I like crosswalk, I like traffic like Anderson, I like that. I mean, I think that's a good idea. Whatever it takes to calm the speed, but I think there's some funding available we're not even looking at here. The state schools travel.
It's safe routes to school, and we do regularly apply for those grants as well, so that's. Again, this will be on our list when we look at all the grants, so that's a possibility.
Is that one also competitive?
All the grants are competitive, yes.
Okay, Zay.
And one thing I meant to say about Madison Road also, it would also play a role when it comes to the garbage man, because from E and Public Works, because turning things into one lane is not good for the garbage man. He knew, because it would, how should I say this, back up traffic and everything. One, two, people would be angry. Get out the way. Don't tell the garbage man to get out the way. He should let them do his job. And like my cousin Angie just said, and I totally agree with her. Every time when I'm out cutting grass, I can see these young brothers and young ladies driving like Dukes of Hazzard and stuff. I said, if you don't slow that car down on Chandler, I know you better. This ain't the Dukes of Hazzard, it's you. I tell you, and we need they need to put speed bumps on Chandler, because there's one section, other places I go to, like Avondale and Bond Hill. So they got speed bumps, and it pretty much seems to work, slow the drivers down. And I believe the support is here. We can't wait another 9 years. We need to start getting things done by 2024 of next year.
a quick question about buses, cars passing school buses and metro buses on two-lane roads where there's a center turn lane. So I do a lot of volunteering at Schroeder in high school and Duck Creek, and that is two lanes with the single turn lane all the way down through the school zone. When the school buses stop, when the metro buses stop, a lot of people pass the metro bus. We've almost had many accidents there. Of somebody turning into the turn lane while somebody's passing the metro bus. So that's the comment. The question is that a state law that people can pass in a turn lane? And I think I saw a yes, a nod. Yeah, and then so therefore, in order to keep that from happening, you know, can I assume it can be designed in such that the Route 11 and 28 bus stops are where there is a turn lane and maybe not have turn lanes like we do in Fairfax with the raised brick, whatever. So it's not just a continuous turn lane to where bus stops and because they try to make the bus stop across from each other.
Yeah.
And so if you've got two buses, you've got two people, but you know what I'm saying, using the turn lane.
Again, the bus stops are a detail that we'll have to get into. We've done different things with bus stops on these kind of roads. But legally, if the bus is stopped, you're allowed to use the center turn lane to go around it. A school bus, obviously you're not. If they have their stop sign out, there's only 3 lanes, everybody's supposed to stop. But for a metro bus, legally you are. But again, that's a detail. We deal with that on all these projects. We'll figure something out that works safely.
Fairfax has the texture media.
Is getting funding from the Hamilton County Sales Tax.
The sort of the transit infrastructure fund, yeah, that is an option. We try to use that as a match to our federal grant. That way we have no money in the project. But that is an option, but we have to come up with the other 50%.
With the passage of the railroad sale affect funding or projects like this?
You're asking the wrong guy.
All right, are there any other? Oh,
My question, so I don't mind having a bicycle lane, but I was thinking about more people being served with maybe other projects. Like, we had the affordable housing money go to those projects that look fabulous at the corner of Madison and Wetzel. And most of them ended up being luxury apartments instead of the affordable housing. Only about 10% of them I heard are affordable housing. Well, and it was because of feedback that we got from outside of Madisonville. They didn't want the affordable housing near them. And I would like to see more money go to that. So if we talk about projects like that, is there anything like that on the table for replacing the affordable housing?
That is not my area. I deal with the public right of way, so I can't answer that.
Okay, because I saw a homeless person, they were hanging out on my street, and I thought, yeah, you know, there's a migration of affordable housing for this project. And it raised my property value, so I have no complaints whatsoever. However, I'm concerned that that we're not serving a large number of people. The likely people, the number of people that would be served is smaller than the number of people that really need that person.
And any of the grants we would apply for are specifically infrastructure grants, so we wouldn't be competing with that anyway, the same money, so.
Would say complicated as his grants for transportation are, housing is like way more complicated, but as a teaser, you might have something on the agenda at November's meeting in that ballpark. So keep that energy for that meeting.
Just an observation, as I was leaving to come down here this evening, it was announced on the television that Central Parkway is now being re-looked at once again to redo everything. And if my memory serves me correct, that was just done within the last 5 to 10 years with bicycle lanes and everything else. And I can't help but think that the location of the soccer stadium and their success and everything isn't driving some of that work being done. And unfortunately, we don't have a soccer stadium or any kind of stadium in this part of Cincinnati to drive that kind of funding, because obviously that's kind of a short range of time to renovate the street compared to what we can talk about all night long.
Your assumption is correct.
Yeah, if you have, anybody has some political connections that they can exploit to speed this or any other projects in Madison, well, please let me know. Okay, so I didn't see more hands.
The ones that I talked, the neighbors that I talked with about the bike lane, said that they would support a bike lane on Madison as long as it was just in the business district and connected to Webster, it's connected to Granville, it's connected to Madison, which connects to the Murray Trail. Because that would make sense to bring people into the Madisonville business district from the Murray Trail and say, y'all come up here.
Okay, anybody else? All right, not seeing any hands. So you're gonna finish the report. Where's that report gonna go?
We will definitely share a copy with you to distribute out, and it'll be posted on our website as well. And like I said, well, first of all, thank you guys for coming out tonight into all the meetings and for all your feedback. Hopefully it's not too long before we're back, and I'm telling you, we have, well, somebody else will be, this isn't my job anymore. But somebody else can tell you they got money and we're ready to move forward with this and get something constructed.
All right, thanks everybody for coming out. Wednesday, that time, 6 p.m. And then also have the election in 3 weeks. Today's the last day to pay your membership dues to be eligible to vote for that. All right, thanks. Yeah.